Got my blanket. I am ready for this video. I'm so excited. Welcome back to the channel. I just played Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time not too long ago. Let me preface this by saying when I first heard about it and looked into it briefly, which means I watched maybe 10 minutes of gameplay total, I immediately judged it by the graphics. There was no one out there that could convince me that the game was as scary as people were saying it was. Fast forward to the present moment, I decided to give it a go. You know what they say, f around and find out. I did. I experienced a lot of regret during the first 2 nights. Around night 3, I think I started to become desensitized enough. Never mind, I lied. I was still dead terrified of the game on night 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, but I finally beat the game and I was so happy. But I want to tell you the story about what happened after the first day that I played it, and I walked away from my first experience genuinely thinking deep down that I was never going to return to this game ever again. It was too much. The jump scares were too much for my heart. I physically I couldn't handle the anxiety. And then there's the dread that you feel as you're waiting, like literally waiting in that security booth, and you can't do anything but press some buttons. The dread of waiting to see a face, or yeah, just have the life force scared out of you. It was almost too much for me, to the point where I thought I was going to uninstall it, never to play it ever again. I started Googling, I started searching on YouTube playthroughs of Five Nights at Freddy's. I came across so many. All of them were absolutely hilarious, but one of the main feelings that I couldn't ignore was watching people play this game for the first time in the exact same position that I was in my first time, not knowing anything, nothing about the lore, nothing about the mechanics, even though what is there really to understand? I only had to use one arm the entire time and it was attached to my mouse. The game was so simple, yet here's all of these people just like myself, scared out of their mind, asking verbatim the same exact questions I was asking myself while I was playing this. Namely, why am I here? What am I doing to myself? Why torture myself like this? Why? I saw a couple replies on Twitter and comments in the videos saying that the lore is incredibly deep and complex, and it left me wondering how. The game is so simple and it doesn't really give you a lot of information. Therefore, I think that alone made it so intriguing. But I sat there wondering, like, how could the lore possibly be this deep? I am here today to watch a video, hopefully on the lore. I found a couple, but one video that stuck out to me the most is one called Game Theory, FNAF, the Ultimate Timeline. This is brought to us by a channel called The Game Theorist, so shout out to them. Please go watch the video yourself, but I definitely wanted to document my research into this game and the timeline, the lore behind it. I'm just so fascinated by this game and I cannot stop consuming FNAF content. I love it so much and I feel such an intimate love for this game now. We're on a nickname basis. FNAF. Anywho, let's jump into the video.
Today we end the torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole.
Wait. Okay, let's start that over. 1 second.
Today we end the torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8.
Well, that was quick. How many books? There are books.
Today we end the torment. 19 books.
I was this moment years old when I found out that there are 19 Five Nights at Freddy's books, like textbooks, or comic books, picture books, all of the books. What? I'm shocked that there's a book. about Five Nights at Freddy's, much less 19. Double digits.
11 games.
11 games? Okay, well, I'm obviously aware of the first one. I know there's a second one. I know there's a third one, fourth one. I think there's a fifth one. Well, apparently there's 11. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, because we can do math here on this channel. But did you just hear my stomach grumble? What the? Shh, calm down. Calm down. We are discussing FNAF lore. 11 games. I still cannot get over that. I got my work cut out for me. Do I want to play all of them? I don't know if I can handle the second one, much less a third, fourth, fifth, all the way to 11. Anyone ever watch Spinal Tap? They got the guitar amp and they're like, well, normally they go to 10, but this one goes to 11. That's exactly the same energy for the FNAF games. Okay, let's keep going.
8 whole years.
Wait, so this entire world, story, lore, thing, games, all of it, the books, it's only existed for 8 years and they have that much content? I need the books. I have gotten back into my reading era, so I'm all about collecting books like Pokemon, but I need the FNAF books. I need to know what the heck is going on because I'm hoping this video will give me a good idea of the lore, but the best way to discover the lore and really connect to it is to read the source material.
Years, all leading to this moment. The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in
Oh,
place for
wait.
us.
I just realized this video is from a year ago, I think. So math, we're year 9, right? Okay, so we're a little farther along now.
All we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together.
What?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is big, my friends, and I gotta admit, kinda nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But
Fazgoo! Wait, like Freddy Fazbear, Freddy Fuzzball. I don't know. I think I came up with like a bunch of crazy nicknames for him because I was just so scared out of my mind I couldn't think straight. I do hope that they address the security guard that came before us. You know how in the first game you get all these phone calls from the guy who had your job before you got your job. All the voicemails progressively got more and more scary, more and more threatening and violent until I think there was just a straight up demon voice and that's it. And I slowly cried myself to sleep that night. That character was one of the only feelings of hope and connection to humanity you know, that you could feel in between like the bouts of terror. The terror and isolation that you would feel.
Massive games, the death and revival of the FNAF movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today. The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create. Only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being.
What from the first game would it give me this impression? I hope I'm not like spoiling stuff for myself for future games if I play the future games. If I don't, then none of this matters anyway. I do hope I'm not spoiling things for myself if I do play them, but I would love context. I would love to understand. So maybe I can go back and play the first game again and approach it from a brand new perspective. But also, if I do play the other games, I actually want to know what I'm learning about. Because, yeah, apparently the lore is so deep and so complex, and there's so many twists and turns and things that I'm so excited to learn about. Also, I love I love the design of the physical, not store, entertainment center. Like this looks exactly like a Chuck E. Cheese. I used to go to those, well, not all the time, but felt like all the time. I don't know, my grandma would take me and my brother all the time, so Chuck E. Cheese kinda has a special place in my heart until now because I do think that Five Nights at Freddy's has ruined that entire environment for me.
The Afton era, William's decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern
Post-Purple
FNAF, everything
Guy.
that happens after the Pizzeria Simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate one episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless, continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one.
Holy,
Once this
there's
whole thing's
3
done, I promise
videos.
I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, we're also putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails,
So much
video
information,
titles,
information
books, and any other
overload.
citations that we need throughout the video. So if you wish to understand that specific statement in more detail, you know exactly where we've taken it from. That way you can look into those details
Oh,
for
that's
yourself.
great.
So sit back, grab
So
some
they're giving us
popcorn
their
or your pitchforks if you're the
references.
type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe.
Couldn't be
since This is
me.
going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a
Say
few
what
times
you
in
want.
order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness, and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life.
A bunny suit. That's all it
Our
takes?
story
Wow.
begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression, and people were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, 4th highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving
This
on
is
to find their
depressing.
fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as
Well,
they
it's called
traveled,
the
there
Great
was
Depression.
one thing that could lift their spirits: a simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that
Yeah,
this,
I remember
Fredbear's, was
those.
a place where you could bring the family. And the price? Honestly,
Nostalgic.
couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food.
Could
But
you
this was a smaller
imagine?
show, like the type
$1.
from the Vaughn Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick
Hold on,
meal,
hold
but
on
it
a
left
second. Hold on a second. This is not real, right? I know that might seem like a ridiculous question, but just watching this, I'm getting so into it, and they're talking about it as if this is real. I'm pretty sure these are fictional people. Okay? Even going back to the 1930s Great Depression, like I know that's a historical event, but like this is fictional, right? There's no murderous bunnies, chickens, and bears. Oh my. I'm just going to assume that this is not real. Okay? That's going to help me sleep at night.
a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents like to call him William. William
makes sense.
The bear could dance, it could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. Well, Fredbear was certainly his first love.
So Fredbear, and then I just learned that the rabbit, right, the bunny, is called Bonnie. Bonnie the Bunny. That makes sense. So they do have real names. I don't know what the heck I was calling them, but I can tell you it wasn't very nice.
Because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough, with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired so many years ago. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story.
The end. Okay, we're done.
Had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea, and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant.
Oh, of course. Of course the chicken has a name. Of course. And it's Chica. Beautiful. That makes sense. All right.
Starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do: make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery
and you don't have to pay robots either. They don't
talk
sleep.
And dance on their own. No human
eat.
required. It was like magic. Magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on.
I've heard of this hippo.
Parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl.
Yellow chicken things.
Other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse?
You can't copyright animals.
Theme a bit better. Why did it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fredbear.
Oh!
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget.
Oh no.
1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas
they merged.
with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily
bringing me back Chuck E.
identifiable as a
Cheese,
brand
holy.
because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
That's not very nice.
That said, not all the
what the heck
characters
is
were
that?
winners. The reception to some characters
Must be one of the
was
games.
just mediocre. So they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their chance to step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big, it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their
Kids
friends.
like
In
that?
1983, Freddy
Are they
Fazbear's
okay?
Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters. Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny,
Boo!
Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear.
Hate all
Business
y'all.
was good, and Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together,
So where
they
did
were
it go
constantly
wrong?
pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters
just not
introduced
satisfied?
into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design.
Yeah,
This
that's
was
so-
the first generation.
That is so creepy. And I did kind of notice that how detached the jaw was to the rest of the head, which is just like not normal. Instead of it creating an appeal because it's like us, it's like humans, it's like the guests that are watching these animatronic performers, it's giving more of a monster feel. Definitely demon, scary, very, very, very scary. And then like why are we going the whole alien route and we got another mouth inside of our mouth? The TLDR is that they nailed it with the creepy design. Okay? That's it.
Of animatronics. But why stop there? Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage but could freely roam the restaurant and interact
Why?
with the kids? What if his mascot suits could become animatronics? What if you could use
I remember
more
them
than
talking
just
about
rigid
that in the
metallic
first game. He
skeletons? Why
mentioned
not
that they
experiment
wander
with
at night.
tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure?
If I ever play the other games, I hope to God that I never see whatever the heck that is.
The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter.
I'm
and more
stupid.
capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But
I also really quickly want to say that I have to applaud the work, the obvious hard work that went into this video. The infographics, everything, like the graphics are so good. It's funny. There's good humor in there. And then so far, I'm not really confused at all. Like it's been very easy to follow.
Pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's singing show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point,
Security Breach,
Fredbear
that's
was
a
an
game.
actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without them just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the singing show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's singing show was either a family business.
Okay. I got the whole murder spree part down pat. Makes sense. Doesn't really surprise me in the context of all of this, but okay, this person becomes immortal? Don't tell me. He's gonna put his soul or consciousness into one of the animatronic devils that exist. And let me guess, it's also the one that he created himself, the bunny. Not Bonnie the bunny, the other one, the other bunny whose name I don't remember. But I mean, they're all creepy. They're all, they all give nightmares. I can't wait for them to expand on the whole immortal thing.
That Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Sing and Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of the story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions.
How
and a
many?
love of
How
the
many did he
entertaining
kill?
kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything.
So
it even has 5
creepy.
fingers for the performer's hands.
So
It is
creepy.
very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually
Holy
says a lot
children!
about his emotional attachment to it. So while Fredbear seems to have started as someone else's creation, Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection.
Golden
And that's not
Bonnie.
all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have
So wait. So Golden Bonnie is this guy, Afton, right? He downloads his consciousness into the bunny suit, but then continues to live his own life, right? Either way, he goes on to become a serial killer of children. Disturbing would be an understatement.
Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares.
The
Even
Nightmares?
Golden Fredbear was a
There's a different
5-fingered
tier of
wearable
these
suit
things?
At one point in the
There's a
story,
whole
as we see in this
hierarchy?
shot from the graphic novel. Before he, like everyone else, was turned into
Wait,
an
did he
animatronic.
say
This seems to imply
where
that
the
at one
nightmares-
point,
No.
Golden personal connection seems
Hold on,
to
where
a
is it?
franchise, only one set of
Okay.
characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Fredbear was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel.
Okay.
Before he, like everyone else, was
Graphic
turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2,
What?
saw those mascot
Wait,
suits specifically.
They're now alluding to the fact that nightmares is in the creatures. I'm thinking literal nightmares, right? Is it now canon in this story that it's not real, or like they're potentially imagining it? But I would have to say no. So I think I'm going back to the thing saying that the nightmares are real, are creatures. They are separate from the animatronics and the hastily put together suits with all the really creepy stitching and all that stuff. I don't know. Let's keep. This is so good. I'm. Oh my gosh. Wait. We don't have that much longer left. Oh my god. This video has flown by.
Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the Mediocre Melodies. For a while now, I've suspected that the Mediocre Melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Nedbear, which is just so suspiciously close
Copycat.
to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're gonna have to justify with any Mediocre Melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that, at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise.
I understand.
The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the Mediocre Melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously.
Right.
He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely built building the robots.
Well, I don't
at the
know about
orders
this
of someone
character
else that
yet.
was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this—
Okay, here's a good reason for why I probably need to get the graphic novels and the books. And at this point, there is a movie that released, I think, within the last year or so. It's currently 2024. Now, I want to go watch the movie because I'm going to hope that they expand more on the lore as well, but I definitely need to read the graphic novels because yeah, I'm only familiar with the security guard from the phone calls and the animatronic characters. I didn't even fathom that the creator of this business, I didn't even consider the fact that they have a backstory, a history. They're still fictional people. Oh, God. They're just talking about this like this is real and it's freaking me out. But now I'm interested in the background of the creator, which again, he is doing a very good job of explaining it, but I know there's more.
This is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious
Shout out to Matt
similarities
Pat.
to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Ned Bear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with two rival restaurants.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, things are intersecting now. Oh, that just gave me chills that they actually brought up in Chuck E. Cheese. Hold on a second. I gotta make sure that these people are not actually real people. William Afton, movie character. Okay, thank God. Just so glad that these are not real people. But Chuck E. Cheese is real. I mean, not the character, but like Chuck E. Cheese is a franchise. The owner's real. Like, it's all real. So the fact that they just name drop that and seeing the animatronic thing on my screen right now, you have no idea how far back this is bringing me. Like, literal visions, flashbacks in my brain of being there, being in the ball pit, climbing on the jungle gym thing, and having a good old time. And now everything has come crashing down. But now I need to learn about the Chuck E. Cheese thing, controversy. I have so much research to do. This is so interesting.
Each with their own casts of characters merging to become one unified brand. Again,
Oh
we've gone
my
into that in
God!
detail with
Oh my God, I don't know who the pig character is, but oh my God! It has been literal years, probably at least a decade. At least, probably, maybe even 2 decades, to be quite honest. It has been a freakishly long time since I have even laid eyes on this stuff. The dog, I forgot about the dog, but now I remember the dog character. I remember this creepy pizzeria guy with the big mustache. This is, I'm looking into my childhood right now. This is taking me back. And I also don't know how to feel about it because in the context of what I'm currently learning about, like, this is so creepy. I cannot wait to do my research on the history of Chuck E. Cheese.
other videos. Just wanted to remind you all of that. But why would I call out the
Oh my God, the Barney, the fuzzy Barney character. I forgot, but now I remember. And now my brain's like, duh, we remember this, but like it was so deep in my memory. It was so far back there. There was no way I could recall that without the assistance of this video. So many more things are happening during this reaction than I thought. I thought I was just gonna get educated on this background story and it was gonna be cool and like even, well, it's already fascinating, but it is making me relive parts of my childhood that I have forgotten about. It's been very intense. It's very intense. Hold on, I want to go back and rewatch the Chuck E. Cheese part.
rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here. But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists.
I need to watch all their videos on this.
Teasing sister location, so it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with the theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the
yeah,
banjo and
it's
eating
creepy
bibs. And
as...
with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she
as a
was the
kid,
one
I
that
would
was
never
added
look
to
at
the main
that and
cast
think,
of characters,
ooh,
while
I
all
want to
the
go
other
play.
mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location. A detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica.
What? What? Huh? Excuse me. First off, again, they are talking about these animatronic characters like they're real, like they're sentient, like they can get up, walk away. So after the store closes down and Chica supposedly disappears, did the character get up and do that itself? Also, I would like to address the fact that he stuffed one of his dead children, or maybe it was the first one that he we all know. He stuffed his child into the suit robot thing. This is messed up. Who thought of this? I have seen people warning me saying that it is extremely dark and depressing, but again, that's an understatement. There is no warning that could have ever prepared me for what I am currently witnessing.
Was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are very spread out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation.
What?
Part 2, the Afton era. I promise, it will actually be next week this time. No more waiting around. I am just as eager to get this one out the door as you are to watch it. I promise. You know what else I promise? I promise that we'll actually get to talking about the games. I would have liked to have talked about them in this episode, but there just isn't that much in the games that helps us depict anything pre-Family Diner.
True.
Let's be honest,
True. Very true. Hit the nail on the head right there. True. That's my issue with the timeline and the lore, and why this is so mind-blowing right now is because, number one, I've only played the first game, but he just said right here that apparently the games don't actually go into the lore. Definitely not the lore and the background and the history of the creator, this Afton person. So that's telling me that I do, in fact, need to read the novels and watch the other stuff, the movies, shows. If there's any other FNAF content that I'm missing, please let me know down below. This is seriously sick and twisted, and I love it. And I really hate that I said that out loud. We can all find comfort in the fact that this is fictional. This isn't real. It's just very entertaining.
Although, let's be honest, this franchise has never been just about the games anyway. Even back in the early days of FNAF,
so
we
it's
were
much
decoding
bigger
images
than
and
the
source
games.
code that Scott fed us through the website. The modern day books and the clues that we get from those things, now they're just modern extensions of that. All of it is crucial to understanding this franchise and its lore. Unless, of course, Steel Wool finally gets around to making that Fredbear's Family Diner game they want to make so badly.
I've always would love to do is get kind of back to, I have no clue if we'll ever be able to do this, but getting back to kind of like the origin of like Fazbear Entertainment.
Hold on. I want to go back and rewatch that
Finally gets around to making
segment.
Now they're just
I
modern
kind of zoned out
extensions
for a
of that.
sec.
All of it is crucial to understanding this franchise and its lore. Unless, of course, Steel Wool finally gets around to making that Fredbear's Family Diner game they want to make so badly.
Steel Wool.
Would love to do is get kind of back to.
So is that the
I have
studio?
no clue if we'll ever be able to do this, but getting back to kind of like the origin of like Fazbear Entertainment or the origin of. Freddy Fazbear.
But in the meantime, while we wait for that inevitable
This is so
cryptic
deep.
game,
It's like
hope
a
that this start
religion.
to the timeline helps to fill in some of those gaps. I'm excited
like a
to share part two
culture.
with you next week. If you haven't subscribed and rang the bell, make sure you do it now so you're notified when that part drops.
Wow, 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 wow. There is a lot to unpack, and I cannot wait to watch their video on the disturbing lore of Chuck E. Cheese. That's terrifying to read because Chuck E. Cheese is real. This is yeah, they're talking about it like it's real. And I mean, logically I might know it's not real, but like inside, like I'm treating this and feeling like it's real. Also watching the developer talk about it and how intense they were behind their words, it makes me feel like people consume this content and read the books, watch the movies, play the games, and they like it so much. Maybe it is because there is this really deep, complex lore behind this, and it creates this feeling of it being real. Sorry if what I'm saying is making absolutely no sense. This is utterly mind-blowing to me. Before I go any further, I really quickly want to give a huge shout out to the game theorists and MatPat for creating this epic video. It's so well done. I don't know if I'm going to react to all of the parts because there is a part of me that is sometimes conflicted with doing reactions to other people's really well done content that takes a lot of work and energy to produce. That's why I highly encourage you, if you have not watched this video, please go click on this video. Don't just leave a like and then click off, because what many people don't realize is that will harm the average watch time of the video, which doesn't benefit it at all. It could actually hurt the video. So if you do genuinely want to watch this video, please click on it, watch the full thing. Even if you're not fully attentive like I was the whole time, even if you just run it in the background as you're doing some chores, please give this video all the support it deserves. I would love to watch and react to the other parts and post it here. But again, for any of those, if I do that going forward, please watch the videos first. Please watch it from beginning to end first. But it's a little different when we're reacting to game trailers because, at least the way I see it, that's also helping to advertise. Possibly the same situation here, however, because they're not trying to sell you a game. They are providing incredible content. It is so important to actually support and watch the source material. Now that I have that out of the way, I have my work and my research cut out for me. This was mind-blowing. This was eye-opening. This was so disturbing. And it's perfect too because Halloween is right around the corner, which, by the way, if you guys are going out, if you're gonna party, if you're gonna go trick-or-treating, whatever, please make sure to be safe. I feel like we have only scratched the tip of the iceberg here. There's just so much stuff. There's so much. I could be here for the next year watching and learning and doing my research, and it still won't be enough. So don't expect a reaction to all the videos. I'm probably going to chip away at stuff as I go. I definitely want to get the books. I will definitely try to share as much with you guys as I can. The first game was so good, and I'm assuming the other games are great as well, but to learn that the games don't even do the lore and the history justice, it's just amazing to me that they were able to create such an immersive world, and also the atmosphere in the game alone, even without knowing what the heck is going on, it sucked you in. Anytime I can discover a universe that goes this deep, that was clearly well thought out and took a lot of time to build upon, that's the kind of stuff I find myself getting really into. I think I know what my Halloween costume is going to be this year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, please head on over to the Game Theorist and check this video out for yourself. Watch the whole thing. If you're looking forward to seeing more content here on this channel, like reaction videos, gameplay videos, and so much more, make sure to like and subscribe. But to be honest, I'm just somebody who sits in their home and likes to make videos about things that they're genuinely interested in. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.